Welcome to Midnight Menu Plus One. I'm Ray Canada.
And I'm Margot Moss. Midnight Menu Plus One is a food lifestyle show on the podcast network itsneworleans.com.
Each week on Midnight Menu Plus One, Margot and I invite a member of New Orleans restaurant and food community to join us, and we invite them to bring along their own guest, a plus one. We never know who their plus one's going to be. Sometimes it's a friend, a neighbor, a family member, a fellow restaurant colleague. But tonight, our special guest on Midnight Menu Plus One is Alicia Murphy of Fare Food Apothecary.
And if you're hungry for more Midnight Menu Plus One than we can dish up here, we have all kinds of extra stuff on our website, itsneworleans.com. You can check out our blog, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, or just Google Midnight Menu Plus One and we come right up.
Tonight's show is brought to us by our friends at Magic Box Toys. Magic Box Toys are on Magazine Street near Jefferson Avenue. You can experience the magic by telling them that Ray and Margot sent you from Midnight Menu Plus One. And if you do that, you'll get a 10% off everything in the store discount. Very good deal.
And by Petite Pet Care. If you need someone to look after your pet while you're at work or school, Petite Pet Care have you covered. Loving care when you're not there. PetitePetCare.com.
Well, I'm really looking forward to talking with our special guest tonight, Alicia Murphy. But before we do that, let's catch up on this week's culinary adventures. Did you eat anything worth reporting on for us?
Yes, I ate and drank at two places I've never been before. So,
where'd you go?
I ate dinner at Le Foret.
Oh, you went to that
Yes.
event? Yeah, how was that?
It was wonderful.
I love that place.
It was really a great meal.
Cool.
I really enjoyed
What'd you
myself. Barbecue shrimp on a grit, fried like grit cake.
Nice.
A beautiful piece of meat with shaved. What are those things? It's not mushrooms.
Brussels sprouts.
No, it's
Truffles.
truffles.
I got it.
Shaved truffles.
Nice.
And like a Madeira balsamic reduction. That was my favorite.
Nice.
Yeah, so, and a few other things, but it was great.
And where was the other place?
Well, I went and drank at Trio on Tulane Avenue. Have you heard of it?
Oh, no, I've heard about it. Yeah. How was that?
It was really nice. It was, Tulane Avenue, you're not expecting to walk into a bright, kind of hip, clean place. It was wonderful. They had art all on the walls and nice vibe and great drink.
Is that the Finn McCool people, too, that own that? Is that what it is?
I think so. It's a young couple.
I love
They're
that place.
Irish. Yes, it is Finn McCool.
Oh, cool. That's a great place. I love that place. Yeah. Oh, that speaks well of it. Cool.
Yeah, so
that's exciting to see Tulane Avenue, too, sort of kind of exploding, too. I mean, all the things that have happened there.
Yeah.
That's great.
And what about you? Did you eat or drink anything?
Yeah,
this week?
I'm always talking about new places that I go to, but sometimes then the places I've been to before don't get reported on. So maybe I should highlight one that I don't think I've ever mentioned on the show. I don't think either one of us ever mentioned before. It's a real simple place, but the Maple Street Cafe. Do you know that place on Maple? It's been there for a long, long time, I think. I've been there twice in the last couple of weeks, but I went there again Sunday night for dinner. And it was just terrific. And I think I ordered probably the poorest of the four of us, and my dish was still fantastic. I got the pork loin with like this blueberry reduction over it, but it wasn't like super sweet. It scared me at first. It looked like it was like maple syrup over it, but it looked like it should be on a pancake, but it wasn't. It was just great. And it was really, really good. We had a solid meal. It's terrific, and it's kind of reasonably priced for what it is. And service was great. We sat outside the patio, and the weather was perfect. And
excellent.
It was just a real magical meal.
Now I need to ask you too. I overheard you saying it was somebody's birthday in your family, and you ate something.
Yeah, 10 minutes ago I just finished a sea dog.
A sea dog.
Yeah,
is that related to
dog.
a hot dog? It cannot be. Is it?
No, I as you know, I won't eat a hot dog. This is nothing like a hot dog except for it's cylindrical in configuration like a hot dog. It's basically like a fish stick that looks like a hot dog a little bit. But once you pull all the stuff on it. But I got wasabi on it and sauerkraut and bacon and olive salad on top of it. Those are all things that God intended you to eat with fish, I think, right?
And the phallic symbol of it didn't bother you?
Well, it wasn't pink in color either, like like a hot dog is. It was white in the middle. It was crispy on the outside and tan. It didn't strike me that way at all.
Great.
So and I had lots of loaded fries with ranch dressing on them and bacon and cheese and all kinds of really healthy things like that.
All right.
And a beer.
Well, that's sounds like a good week of food.
Yeah, so I may be burping a little bit during the show here. If you hear any of that, that's what it's from. But it's great. Well, Margot, I could keep talking all week about what I ate, but our guest is here now, so let's introduce her. I'm excited to talk to Alicia Murphy of Fare Food.
Welcome,
Welcome.
Alicia.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So good to have you here.
Thanks.
So I'm very excited to talk to you because I have driven by a few months back. I would drive up Magazine Street and I saw this beautiful, like simple but beautiful logo on the glass window and noticed the building, and I was so curious of what was coming in, and I went into Fare Food Apothecary and had a wonderful experience. But I would like for you to share with people that maybe don't live uptown or haven't been yet what Fare Food Apothecary is and what your mission behind
I am very happy to talk about it. It is my passion. It is something I love. So absolutely, I will chat your ear off about this. So Fare Food Apothecary, we are a shop that has everything from juice and smoothies and drinks to bakeries. As you can see, I brought some treats for you, some nice little cookies.
Ooh.
We have bakeries, we have snacks, we have soups, salads, all sorts of yummies. But it's not just food to take away. It's a little bit more than that. It is everything in the shop is anti-inflammatory. So what that means, it is gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free, and sugar-free. And most people say, ugh, that sounds awful. What do you have left? What can you do? And, you know, we live in New Orleans. We live in a food town. We love to eat. Guess what? I'm one of those people. I love to eat. And when our family first started eating this way, there was no way I was going to sacrifice taste or fun. I have 5 kids. There's no way I wanted to tell my kids, no, you can't have a chocolate chip cookie. So I just got really creative, and I found ways to have really great food and really yummy things that still fit within the diet of an anti-inflammatory diet.
Okay.
So that is what I have. And then I told you I'm going to chat your ear off. So most people next say, what the heck is an anti-inflammatory diet? Really, anyone who has been diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, or anyone who has health issues, anyone that really has done some research knows what I'm talking about. A lot of people understand a paleo diet. A paleo diet is anti-inflammatory. If you'd like, I'm happy to go into the details and give you all the scientific stuff. But essentially, it is something that's really, really great for your body. A lot of diseases happen because of inflammation in the body, whether it is in, throughout the lower part of your body, through your brain, wherever it may be. And so really the people who come into our shop are people who are either A, very, very concerned about their health, or they have some kind of health issue. B, they have some sort of dietary restriction or allergy. Maybe they're allergic to certain things, allergic to dairy, they can't tolerate dairy, or they've been diagnosed as being gluten intolerant or celiac. So I have those people, and then I have people who are just trying to eat better and take care of themselves. And then the last one is my favorite. Those are the people who just happen to stumble in, find things, eat it, and go, oh my gosh, these are the best chocolate chip cookies I've ever had. And then I get to say, guess what? They're good for you too, and healthy. And that's really exciting.
Well, I'm one of those
Can
people.
we try one of these cookies now? She's
Yes,
been talking about it.
please.
She's making me hungry.
Should I tell you what kind of cookies I brought? Okay, well, we have a ton of stuff, but these are three of my favorites that I will quite honestly tell you I eat frequently, which probably isn't great. But I have chocolate chip cookies on the bottom, which are my favorite. I have a dark chocolate pecan cookie, and I have to tell you, those are always everyone's favorite. Anyone who likes a good dark chocolate with that cocoa flavor, really, really yum. It's not that heavy milk chocolate flavor. It is a true dark chocolate flavor. And then the one on the top is a raisin spice cookie. Wow. So please go ahead and try that. Right. And And I'm going to tell you something. I use a lot of chocolate in my baking because guess what? Chocolate is really good for you. And this is not something I think women just made up just so they can eat more chocolate. Nutritionally, chocolate in its pure form is really good for you. It's an alkaline food. It's really, really super healthy. It's only once people start adding a bunch of things to it, once you add a lot of sugar and you really overprocess it, then it turns into something else. But chocolate, cocoa, dark chocolate is really, really good for you. So
I'm eating the
Me too.
spice.
Same one.
Yeah. I love it. And to me, it's the perfect blend between savory and sweet. I don't love desserts that are overly sweet and but this has such a nice balance and it's delicious. I would not know that it doesn't have sugar or dairy
or
flour.
yeah. It's amazing,
It
isn't
has
it?
some sweetness to it. So where's the sweetness come from without sugar?
Oh, good question. The only sweetener I use honey and I use maple syrup.
All right.
Yeah. That's it.
Now, let me ask you, so we understand what your mission is with your establishment. Was there any personal reason why you
Absolutely.
were pursuing
And
that?
I personally think most fabulous ideas probably come from moms who are looking after their family. And that's exactly where this came from. I have 5 children.
And do you have quads? Is that?
I do.
I know. Yeah. The McMullins.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So I have quadruplet daughters, and I saw that giggle over there. So I have quadruplet daughters, and then I also have my +1, who is a year and a half behind. And believe it or not,
+1.
my quadruplets are my super babies. They came out. They're big, huge, healthy, strong, perfectly healthy. And my one single is the one that has health issues.
Interesting.
And she has an autoimmune disease. She has juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, which is very painful for a little baby. And
How old is she now?
She is almost 5, actually. She will tell you she's not a baby. She's a big girl. She'll be quick to correct me on that one. But she was diagnosed at a very young age with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, and it is, like I said, very painful. It was only finally diagnosed after she became so huge and swollen and was just crying, I mean, for a year solid. And of course I did what the doctors tell you to do, and because I was such a terrified mother, oh my goodness, my daughter has this condition, so I just followed and did exactly what I was told, and I gave her all this medication, and once her symptoms started to change a little bit and I was able to sort of catch my breath, that's when I had this nagging in the back of my head, and I said, you know what, I'm not sure.
Let me try something else.
I'm not sure all this medication for a very young child is a good age. At this age is a very good idea.
Right. You wonder what it does to him developmentally and all the rest of it.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
So I started reading and reading and reading and researching. And, when you lie in bed at night and it's 2 o'clock in the morning, you keep thinking of all these things. And so that's when I started. I mean, those iPhones are terrible, aren't they? You can read everything at all times of the day. So I would stay up all night and I was reading. I got myself into medical journals and I was reading incessantly. And I had always been a big believer in a good diet, and I knew, what goes in definitely affects everything about your body, but I think I did not understand it completely until I started reading these medical journals and really finding out when your food goes into your body and it breaks down, how does it break down and where does it go and what does it affect and what organs are affected, and oh my goodness, guess what? They're all affected by each other. What happens in your gut affects your thyroid. What happens in your thyroid affects your whole body. It affects your brain. Everything is connected. So that was sort of mind-blowing. And the more I started reading and researching, I discovered that a lot of the foods I've been giving to my daughter that I thought was really healthy, these were not great for her, and they were causing additional inflammation. And so it was sort of counteracting the medicine I was giving to her. And of course,
So what
I
are some of
researched.
the wrong things, for example?
So one of the biggest, I hate to dog out any food because
Sure.
people are going to listen and say, what? That is not what I
Right.
learned
I mean, these would be
growing up.
specific for rheumatoid arthritis, maybe not apply to everybody else sometimes.
Well,
some of the things are generally healthy.
I will
some of the
tell
things
you,
are, okay.
one of the biggest inflammatories that you can have is milk, dairy.
Yeah.
Dairy is a huge inflammatory for the body, and I didn't realize that. I thought I was the smartest mom, and I was feeding my kids so much dairy and so much milk, and they were drinking 8 gallons of milk a week, and my friends would joke and say I needed to have a cow in my backyard. But I thought I was doing everything right, and the more I found out, the more I realized that wasn't right. And I was really into feeding my children whole grains. And I thought, I'm giving them lots of milk, lots of cheese, lots of yogurt, whole grains. And then I realized, ooh, wait a minute. That's probably not the best course of action. So I started sort of developing just for our family, not thinking anything else about where this would go down the road, but I started developing for our family kind of our own anti-inflammatory diet. I started looking at what different contributors might be, and I just really sort of took everything off the list. I said, I'm going to start at ground one.
And then put
I'm
things
going
back,
to take everything out, start her fresh, and then I'll slowly reintroduce it and see how she does. And really all this focused around my youngest. And it was really hard at first because I really didn't have any experience. And I thought, oh, this is so restricting. I'm taking away all these things. What am I going to do? And the first month was rough. I mean, my husband was storming around the kitchen and saying, there's nothing to eat in this house. There's nothing good, because I wiped out everything in the kitchen that didn't belong there. And after a month, I kind of got into my groove. And I was like, oh, look, I can make this instead. Oh, wait, I can make this. And I started getting really creative with my cooking. And I would say I started seeing results with my daughter 3-4 weeks.
So,
Wow.
so what
That's
we're
amazing.
so she
That's
was still
quick.
on the medicine at this point.
Actually, I had weaned her off of this
Right.
medication down to a very, very bare minimum. It was a very slow process with weaning her off the medication. And I approached my doctor and told him that I didn't really feel comfortable with the amount of medication that I was giving her, and this is what my plan was, and this is what I was going to do. And he said, absolutely not. It's a terrible thing.
That was going to be my question.
Yeah.
Did
That's
you
a
get
terrible
support
thing.
from your...
Do not do this. In fact, what he said was, well, since you're the doctor, you tell me what the next course of action is. And I said,
Sorry,
well,
that's horrifying to me.
I said, well, I would say let's first look at her blood work. And he said, oh, did we run blood work? I said, actually, I called your office 4 days ago and asked if we could call in the orders for the blood work. Yes, we ran blood work. And
Right.
he said, oh, okay, well, let's look. And he looked at all her markers, and he could tell from one of her markers the long-term inflammation. And he said, oh, well, actually, it looks pretty good. I said, okay, so that's good. He
So
was
it's
like,
an improvement.
He said, no, you need to put her back on all that medication. That was a bad choice. You can't do this. So I said, okay, thank you very much. And I left the appointment, and I started looking at other physicians. And
Right.
I found a new doctor who is phenomenal, and she's amazing. And what she did is she ordered records from all of her past, everything since she was born, everything. She poured over them and spent the next, I would say, 2 weeks going over Alana's records. And she ordered all new blood work, and she met with me and said, whatever you are doing is amazing. This is
Awesome.
the best her blood work has ever been since they started running blood work. Good job. Keep going. And I knew I was on the right track. I knew it. I could see it. It was so obvious. And after, a couple months, I actually got a little concerned because I said to my husband, oh my gosh, look at her wrists. What is that? What is that? That's
It's
a bump.
bone.
And then I realized, that's the first that's what your wrist is supposed to look like. That's the first time I'd ever
Wow.
seen that. It's amazing. And I was able to take her off of almost all of the medication. She's on a very, very bare minimum. And it's all 100% through diet. And that to me is just, it's amazing. It's amazing.
It's incredible, and that you would have the courage to advocate for what you believe in, and it wasn't harmful to think about diet and what she puts in.
Well,
and,
I think that's what
and
moms
to
do.
stand up against
Moms
the
are
doctor.
always trying to find the very best thing for their children, and that's what I did. And of course, then I had to look at all of my other children and say, well, okay, this is some new information for me. I really need to rework the way I'm thinking about things. And all of my children eat this way. Our whole family eats this way. And I have to tell you, I have never felt better in my entire life. I have more energy. My brain is popping.
Yeah.
I tell people when I have a green juice and one of my flaxseed muffins in the morning, I feel like my brain is on fire. I feel so smart. It's like my genius is all of a sudden moving.
Now you have a culinary household.
I do.
You do. Now I think Matt Murphy is your husband, and I see your +1, and he looks very familiar. So I'm guessing that's who this is, unless it's his brother. Or
This is me.
I know his brother. That's not his brother.
Well, welcome.
How
What
are
a
you?
treat
Good
we
evening.
get the famous Matt Murphy for a +1. That's wonderful. All right. We always have fun with +1s, but I gave it away. Okay, why don't you introduce him and why you picked him?
Well, I don't know how I cannot pick him because everything I do in my life is about my family, and this is the biggest piece to my family right here. And except for that first month when he was storming around the kitchen, not being able to have any snacks in our kitchen on our anti-inflammatory diet, he is, I not to brag or anything, he is a hot thing, and he has lost so much weight, and he is in the best shape, and he eats this way too, and I think it really...
So his qualifications for our listeners that may not know.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, besides just being the person you sleep with and fathered your children and all that, he's also what?
He is also Chef Matt Murphy, owner and operator of the Irish House on St. Charles Avenue. Very well-known chef in
Awesome.
town for the past 15 years. He's moved around New Orleans. He was sous chef at Commander's for some years, and then he was the
They named
executive
a restaurant
chef
after him, basically, after his initial, I guess,
at
right?
the Ritz-Carlton.
Yeah.
He did, right? He was the executive
there.
chef at the Ritz-Carlton.
It's still
and,
the M Bistro, but it's
I know, isn't
you're
that
not
funny?
the M anymore over there, right? Yeah.
No, it's all right, but it's
It's-
still
well, it's
green.
still
It's
our-
a green M.
Right. Still got a little Irish to
Yeah.
it. That's right. So now he's got his own place. He's got the Irish House.
Well, I know you a little bit just through the McMullins. I'm the McMullins pastor. They're gone now, but they were. I know you guys experienced the quad thing together, and then when you had your medical issues, there were some folks that I think were helping out a little bit from the church or
Lot of
whatever.
people. A
We
lot
actually
of
all
people.
lived in the same neighborhood, so there was just down the block there was quads, and in Harris there was quads,
Right, I remember.
and everyone
that,
uptown was like, "Don't drink the water."
Yeah,
around St.
neighborhood.
You're gonna have
going
quads.
on in that
Yeah, you all were
neighborhood?
just right. You're right near
Let's not
Sacred
tell
Heart.
t- okay.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
I
I
was
was
gonna
going
say
to
the
say, let's
address.
not.
Yeah.
In case we have any stalkers out there.
Yeah, no.
But
Well, you could never miss our house anyway. People have, I'm not lying, people have walked by the front of our house and stopped and said, "Is this a daycare?" I'm like, "Yep, it's the Murphy daycare." That is true.
No, this is backtracking a little bit, but Alicia, do you have any culinary background or yourself, or
You know,
was this
The funny thing is, I was an art major in school, but my very first job was a waitressing job when I was 16. And I think once you get in food and beverage, it sucks you in. It gets it. And when you move to New Orleans, that's it. You're done for. You are forever a food and beverage person. So what I did before I had children, for a long time, I was a catering director, and so I planned parties and events and weddings, and so I've always been involved in food and beverage, and I've always been that side of the business. And then when Matt and I decided to open the Irish House, that was definitely a team effort, and we worked a lot together. And then, of course, when you have kids, I think you you definitely learn how to cook. And when you have 4 kids at once, you learn to get really creative. But our house is very fun, and food is positively a huge part of it. My girls are young and they can cook, and they get creative things every day. And this morning we had parfaits. So we had layers of fruit and yogurt, and we had a muffin crumbled in there.
Coconut yogurt too.
Coconut and
If
nuts.
you've ever
And
tried it,
so
it's
we get
actually
fun
delicious.
things, and sometimes we have French toast for breakfast, and we have pancakes, Mickey Mouse shaped pancakes, and we have bacon and egg. My kids eat really well. And then we like to involve them a lot. They, with everything from helping to cook to even our meals. We will do like when we do my version of oatmeal without oats, I just make it with other ingredients. I use flaxseed, and I use walnuts, and I
Why no
soak
oats?
it and I
Because
puree.
this is there's something wrong with oats.
No, oats. Nope. I don't want to dog out oats. I don't want to dog out anyone else's diet, but oats can contribute to some intestinal permeability, which is a whole nother topic, which sometimes people
See,
call
I always
it
feel
leaky
guilty
gut.
for not eating oats. I don't eat any oats, and I have high cholesterol. It's my only bad stat is my cholesterol.
You know what? Let me just tell you.
And everybody tells me high cholesterol doesn't affect mortality at all. It's cholesterol mixed with other things. That's another story. But that's the only reason why I don't eat oats. But
there are a lot of
so
other
now you're telling me I don't
great-
have to eat oats. That's great.
You don't have to eat
Good.
oats. You can actually find some really great things. Anything that is positive that comes out of oats, you can find it in another place.
All right, good.
So we will do fun things like our kind
Now,
of.
you said bacon before. That's healthy. I can eat bacon and be healthy.
Well, it depends on what else you're eating.
Don't tell me that. Just answer it really short. Yes
Bacon's
or no.
great.
Well, you can't.
Yes,
you
bacon's
can't
healthy.
pick and
Tell me bacon's
choose
healthy.
and say, yeah, I'll have bacon, but I'll eat all the other stuff.
Let me
If you
explain.
take out all
Yeah.
the bad stuff, bacon, you can definitely do bacon. And we use bacon, and you know what? We had turnips the other day that were super yummy. I'm on a turnip kick, and I sauteed them in bacon fat. That was
Nice.
awesome.
Well,
Awesome.
I've
So
seen this
good.
all happen from a culinary cooking type where, as she said, I was storming around the house when we cleared everything out, and then we kind of figured out what we can eat and how do we eat it and so on. And for me, the biggest motivator was when I seen our little daughter, who would barely run around or in the mornings would be in pain and we massage her knees, when she was running around with her sisters, and just from diet. I mean, me as a chef, I'll tell Alvin, I'll be, the person that comes in and says, hey, I want this, I can't have this. You're always a bit skeptic, going, oh, they're just doing it. But when I seen this, any doubts I ever had in my mind switched. And that was a lot of it. The time we started making breads at home, trying to make bread, because I'm Irish, I love bread. So we started to develop trying to do our breads. At first we didn't. That's why I was going crazy. No bread. And we've taken a lot of that, and where we would have our pastry person in the Irish house, she was helping to make the breads, and then we had people taste them, and we said, man, this is actually good, we can do this. And it was like development stages. Right now, I don't see anything different. Maybe I'm just eating healthier food, less processed food. Sometimes, people call it a Mediterranean diet, where it's a lot of fresh ingredients, olive oil, stuff that isn't synthetic oils and stuff that they use in cooking now. So we went through their stages. At first, it was like remodeling with a sledgehammer. Everything out of the larder, and we only had certain things.
Now, this is at home. Now, is this
at
happening
home.
also at the restaurant at all? I
Ooh,
was any
we're
of
gonna
this-
tell. We're gonna tell you about that.
Well,
after.
the
That's our
restaurant we've
secret
always had.
surprise.
I've always been, if you're worth your weight in salt as a chef, you shouldn't get all bent out of shape when someone says, "Hey, I want something without gluten in it," or I'm a vegetarian. The usual thing is, and I've always said the vegetarian shouldn't be picked on. He shouldn't get like pasta primavera. Every place, no matter where he goes, every restaurant,
Right.
the first cook will say, "Oh, pasta primavera." And the guy's like, "No, not again." If he had that 7 nights a week, he'd have pasta primavera. But
painful.
in this town, especially in New Orleans, you think of New York, and New Orleans is a real food town. So why don't we cater to that? And why don't we? We don't have to have. I mean, I love a po' boy.
Yeah, and
I can't-
celebrate that and enjoy it
and
as
say,
a
hey, we
chef.
can do it just as good. And a lot
Right.
of chefs are. There's a lot of guys out there that are running those like alternative menus or and stuff like that.
Right.
And that's where we actually, it's kind of easier when you get your head wrapped around it. You understand ingredients and what not to put in the food and what to put in the food, and that's one of the things we're actually going to do at the Irish House. We've had our vegetarian menu, we've had our gluten-free menu, and we're actually looked at that and we said we had 3 or 4 different menus, and depending on what you are, you get given it when you sat down. We said, why don't we just do one menu that caters to everything? And it seems simple.
In other words, it already includes those.
It already includes it,
and if there people that don't have those allergies would still enjoy it.
And when we looked at it on the whole, and maybe it's me because I'm eating this way, I looked at it. We can actually do that dish and make it gluten free by doing just taking out things. It's a lot easier, and you can make it taste good. I think the biggest and best thing is that you can still make it taste good. Like the other night, I cooked. I took asparagus. I took some tomato. I took some what
cabbage,
else? Some red cabbage and carrots that were shredded.
Cilantro.
Sautéed it down with some olive oil and threw in some cilantro, and then I just seared some beautiful salmon on top of it. And literally everybody at the table, there was 8 people eating at the table, and they were like...
The drizzle on the top.
Unbelievable.
There was a curry drizzle, and the curry sauce, it was an emulsified vinaigrette, and it had been made with apples and onions cooked down. It had some curry and turmeric in it.
Oh, man.
So super, super healthy, great inflammatories, and it was so good. I really wanted to pick up the plate and lick it.
Do you get that news out good. Much? I mean, do you think people that come... I mean, people don't come to your restaurant because of this, but... is it part of the literature? In other words, like when you look at the menu, is there anything it's advertising that this is gluten free and so
yet,
forth?
Because
not,
it hasn't.
Not crazy. It's mostly like people that are gluten free know, and they tell their friends.
Right.
Or I think we've gone in development stages where we wanted to make sure someone that was vegetarian felt good when they came in, and we would present them with our own version of the menu, but a vegetarian friendly. And it's like the more you develop and you think about things and you run something. We've been doing that for 2 years now, and we've been doing our own gluten free. And I said, why don't we just have one menu with everything on it?
Right.
I mean, it makes it simpler, and you kind of build up and you develop and you create and you get better. And that's where we're at now, where we're going to have, a lot of CrossFit people are into that paleo kind of food,
right.
which is similar to the way we eat. And I was like, why don't we do a menu like that?
Now,
why limit ourselves?
Does this create any tension in your staff? I mean, sous chef and so forth.
Well,
have you gotten pushback on this at all?
We haven't put the menu into effect yet.
Oh, this is still okay.
Slow down.
Got
The
it.
gluten-free, we can do the anti-inflammatory menu. We've just started putting together, and it hasn't been officially announced.
Okay.
This is the first place
are
we're
the
talking
place?
about it
I don't
out
think
loud.
I don't think we get pushback because the guys we were talking about
They don't know yet.
Well, no, they do.
Now when they
No,
listen
we
to
were
the
sitting
show.
there.
Staff that hasn't pushed back.
Wyatt's the chef there. We were talking about it, and he's like, he's
excited.
this is actually
supportive.
We're just making really good tasting food, but taking
Well,
one or two ingredients out.
Now let me ask you something about this. I one of my worst. We always talk about we celebrate good moments here at restaurants, but without naming the name of the place, one of the worst meals I've ever had and worst experiences in a restaurant is I had some friends that flew down to get married here, and it was this really great week. And I've been gushing about New Orleans, I always do, and talk about how unique the culture is here. And I always talk about aspects of how this place is very adaptable. It gets hit as your family. I want to talk about that in a minute too. Between I know your illness that you had and having the quads is a challenge, but New Orleans is a city's like that, right? It's gotten kicked in the gut so many times, and then every time it sort of like learns how to adjust and learn and it's so creative and all these different things. So when we get to this restaurant, my friend's wife has a bunch of food intolerances, and we went there, and I was telling her, oh, that probably won't be a problem at all. These are, this is a place where people come with all kinds of stories. And she, as soon as she opened her mouth to the waiter, it's a famous waiter at a famous restaurant. He's a kind of a celebrity in town, and he just like sniffed, rolled his eyes, literally,
No.
and said, "Well, I don't know. Let's see what we can do," kind of thing. And then he gave her it wasn't pasta primavera, but it was pretty close,
The version of it.
And I was so humiliated. I wanted to walk out. I've never walked out of a restaurant before, but it was so awful. But to me, that's really it's against what the culture is about. I mean, do you sense that? I mean, I feel like this is a culture that should know how to adapt, and what you're talking about, some of the restaurants should do better at.
It was like I put it like this: 20 years ago, the chef would be, "No, I'm only cooking what's on the menu, and that's all I'm prepared for." But I think nowadays, and you've got a lot more creative guys in the kitchen. They may not have, grown up totally culinary. They might be doing another job, and then they get into it. They're willing to adapt, and there's alternatives. There's some look when you go into, a store now, you can choose many different. Every aisle has something that's different, a different variety, or maybe it's something that has, allergy free, no peanut oil in it because that's a big allergen. You can find all that stuff. So slowly and surely, just in the restaurant scene, it has to trickle over. It has to trickle over and say, hey, I want this certain way. And I think we're at the stage now where chefs and restaurants are on the path to say, hey, why don't we just cater? Why did we make a big thing about it? Because when you go down and you want to get a cereal minus peanut oil in it, you can actually go and buy it on the shelf in your local supermarket. So why can't?
If corporate America can be creative, why can't this hub of creativity
I'm
not be creative?
I'm going to jump in and say someone needs to read the labels, because my fear is that, people go through stages of what is trendy, and fat-free was trendy for a while, and people thought, oh yeah, and now everyone's saying, oh, gluten-free, but no one, I think, really, not no one, a lot of people do not understand what it means, and they don't actually understand what's going on with gluten in the body, and they see gluten-free on a package and they think, oh, I can have this, it says it's gluten-free, no problem, and they're just picking it up and taking it and running with it. And I always caution people, read the labels. Look, just because it says gluten-free, it doesn't mean it's okay for you. Pick it up, turn it over, and look. And I'm telling you,
if it has numbers in there,
10,
it's not good.
Right. 9 times out of 10, it has replacements for gluten, other things that you should not be eating.
Right.
Pretty much, if it's processed, it's probably not good for you.
Right.
And you probably shouldn't have it. Even if it says gluten-free, it doesn't mean it's a free-for-all and it's okay.
It's up to the individual too,
Yeah.
Like I was the biggest bread eater and the biggest dairy drinker in the world, I would say. But I did find, I gave it up slowly but surely, just because I didn't want to be drinking a gallon of milk with my girls in the room. But I did feel now that my mind was clearer. I was thinking better. I felt better. A lot of indigestion and things that I had went away. Mm-hmm. So I believe in it because I've seen the effects on me. I've lost 35 pounds. You've seen me 6 months ago. You'd seen a teddy bear. I've seen the effects of it, so it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And I think as people are more educated about things now, and they question things. Before, it's just eat it, shut up, eat it, that's it. Now people look at it and say, hey, what am I eating?
And you have an opportunity in being a chef, and I want to get back to Fare, but it's an opportunity to really educate people in an unobtrusive way. If it's great food and people enjoy it, then they want to know what's in it, and it doesn't have to be this is all gluten-free or this is all an anti-inflammatory diet. It's, to me, I would imagine it's more impactful to just have people enjoy the experience, and as a chef, you're being creative and you're expressing yourself. You're just doing it in using different resources.
Exactly.
So I really appreciate what y'all are doing.
Well, I think one of the most exciting things for me is when and this has happened a lot in the past couple of months since we opened, when I have people come in and say to me, thank you. There is nothing like this here. I cannot find any other places to get treats for my children or to get a meal for myself to take away. I can't find these things anywhere else. Thank you. In our first week open, I actually had a woman come to me and cry, and I got so emotional. And she said, I moved here, I think she said 6-7 months ago from New York. I have been struggling. My daughter has issues. I can't find anything for her. You don't know what this means. This is so important. Thank you so much. And I think, wow, this is really exciting. This is really affecting other people. Honestly, the reason I opened the business is because I was spending all my time cooking everything from scratch for my kids, and I could find no other place like that. And I had no place to go and just pick up food for my family. I had to make everything every day. And honestly, it was a pain in the ass. And I thought, if I'm cooking 5 and 6 hours a day, hell, I might as well do it. Sorry, can I
Make
curse?
some money.
Yes,
yeah,
please.
I might as
Margot.
well do it for other people. Yeah, Margot does it. I'm good then.
Yeah.
Thanks,
I
Margot.
love to make them blush. Go ahead. Come on.
So I thought, if I'm doing this for myself, surely there are other people that need this as well.
Right.
And I always tell people, if there had already been something like this, or if there was any other place I could get these products, I would be their best customer.
Right.
And nothing like that exists. And that's
Well,
why
now
I
everyone
did this.
doesn't have to reinvent the wheel. They don't have to spend 5 or 6 hours. They can go and pick it up from you.
Well, yeah,
which is
and
great.
it's. I hope you're
Fair
enjoying
food.
those cookies.
Yes.
Yes,
over
well, I got a
there.
confession to make, Margot. While you were listening carefully to our guests, I was plunging my hand in the cookie jar, and I didn't leave you any chocolate chip cookie. I ate both of them. I think.
I've already I
Oh,
got,
you saved the
some
piece.
while
Oh,
you
okay.
were going on.
Oh, there we go.
I already the
Oh, my
only
God.
one I haven't tried. I don't eat nuts, so
Yeah,
I
I
have
don't eat
not
nuts
tried
either.
the
So I
Okay,
went
I
around
am
it.
going to tell you,
Chocolate.
I do use nuts in a lot of the cooking, but because I use almond flour for a lot of things, but I also have things with coconut flour. And so I know you can have things with coconut flour.
Yeah. I have a
There
different
are
nut
no
allergy
nuts
than
in
Margot
some
does.
of those.
We're difficult. I have a different nut allergy than
What
Margot.
is your
No,
nut
I don't have
allergy?
any- I mean, I don't.
Oh, you just
I
don't eat
just
them at
don't. Well, it's not relevant.
Okay,
but
yeah, I don't want to talk about mine either. It's gross.
Oh,
So,
okay.
but you know what though? Time is flying by, and we're already up to the off the menu segment. I can't
Yes.
believe this. We're getting pretty far along in the show. So this is a segment where we like to call off the menu, where we ask you questions that you wouldn't normally find in an application to work at your restaurant.
Ooh, this is why
So-
my +1 is here. 'cause
Yeah.
He's good
No,
at
no. Well,
stuff
you got to
like this.
answer these individually, though. We may give you different questions.
Okay.
too.
Yeah.
You don't
So
know.
Alicia, I'm going to
very
ask you,
unpredictable.
and it may be not. Well, your interview question for is, if you could eliminate one edible item that God created or was processed.
Destroy it from the
Just-
universe.
Yes, destroy
Eliminate
it from one item that is supposedly edible. What would it be?
I love that question.
Oh, I know. That's really
I want that
easy.
power.
It's really easy, and people are going to hate it.
Go for it.
Sugar.
Okay.
Sugar. Yeah.
And
Because-
why?
Oh, man. It is addictive. It's addictive.
You want to get rid of sugar?
I do.
I hate you. I'm
I
so glad
told
you're not
you.
God.
I told you people would hate that. I think once you start eating sugar, you get really hooked on it, and it's hard to detox and get it out of your system. But once it's out of your system, you don't miss it. And there are a lot of other ways to enjoy food and enjoy sweet items. Yeah, sugar. I know. I told you wouldn't like that
Wow.
answer.
You're evil.
I know.
You're mean.
I'm a mom. I'm tough.
Well, you know, before we ask Matt, we forgot to thank our sponsors. So let's pause and do that for a moment, and then I'll come up with a really good question for Matt for his off the menu. Margot, I think it's right there. Yeah.
Okay. So, if you need someone to give your pet loving when you're not there, Petite Pet Care are insured, bonded, Red Cross, Pet CPR, and First Aid certified. But most importantly, they love animals. You can find Petite Pet Care at their website, petitepetcare.com, or call them at 504-300-9PET.
I don't have any pets, but I want to go there now too. You
You think
sell
they look
it so
after
well.
chickens?
Chickens. Oh, I'm a
They
big chicken
do.
fan.
Chickens.
Really?
But you know, we have someone else to thank too.
Okay.
Magic Box Toys.
Oh,
I'm not a
they're
toy
great.
store person, but
I
I
love
love
that store.
Magic Box
I
Toys.
know,
I got
we
pulled
love
in there.
that
Isn't that a
store.
great
It's a great
store?
store.
Yeah.
That's a great
They
store.
have something for all 5 of your kids. I bet.
Yes, they
Without a
do.
doubt.
And actually, they're great. My kids go in there, and they're really sweet and nice
They're
to
cool
them,
people.
So
in
they
there.
are very good.
Betsy, the owner,
Yeah.
and Mary. They're just wonderful people in there. Well, it's a toy store with toys for everyone, from infants to grandparents. You can find them online at magicboxneworleans.com. That's magicboxneworleans.com, where there's details about in-store events like their free Rainbow Loom classes. I may not be taking that class anytime soon, but that's very interesting to a lot of people, I think. And you can also find Magic Box Toys on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and Pinterest. And if you visit Magic Box Toys on Magazine Street, Uptown, near Jefferson Avenue. Tell them that Ray and Margot sent you, and you get a 10% discount off of anything in the store. Anything, 10% off.
Ooh.
There are very expensive toys in there. That could be a huge windfall sometimes. That offer is good right now through the end of May, so hurry up and drop into Magic Box Toys and experience the magic for yourselves.
Okay, also on Magazine Street, you can take your bag of toys down to Monkey Hill Bar. And they have a happy hour every weekday from 3 to 8 p.m., $3.50 well drinks, and $1 off beer, wine, and signature cocktails.
Okay, so now back to you, Matt.
All right, hit me.
Yeah, I'm gonna give one I ask all the time because I just find we have the most interesting answers to this. If you could eat a meal with, and you don't even have to cook it, somebody else could cook it, but you eat a meal with anyone, living or dead. Let's just keep it living. Anyone living right now on the earth, who would you want to have a meal with? One-on-one.
Let me see. That's a really hard question. Well, if it was someone dead, it'd be Ferdinand Point, famous chef, owner of a restaurant. And living, let me see. My mom.
Your mom? You
There
can
you
have
go.
you have meal with your mom anytime.
You knew
Come on.
it? If this was, what is that? Not Hollywood Squares.
She's
What's
listening.
that couple's
She's gonna-
con-
She would kill me if I said anybody else.
Is she in Ireland or is she
She's
here?
in Ireland, exactly.
Oh, you can get this show in Ireland just as easy as here. Yeah, it's on the internet. That's great. All right.
So you're from Ireland, and where did you grow up, Alicia?
I grew up in the New England area.
Now, how did y'all meet?
I went back to Ireland. I was working in a restaurant, and I seen this American girl who was working as a waitress. And
In Ireland?
In Ireland, in Dublin. And she was just talking up a storm. And somebody said, somebody was talking about fluff, you know, that all
That
No,
white.
no, icing.
icing stuff, you know. And she said, ask that guy. And I had just returned from the States, and I went to a dollar store, and I bought as many of these, like, defunct football team hats for $1 as I could. And I'd given them out in the kitchen. So everyone had thought I was just arrived from America, and this chef is working with the guys. He's from America, but we were like Detroit. I was Philadelphia. Someone was Florida. So she said, "Ask him. He knows about whatever fluff is."
I said,
American."
He's
he's
from
an American.
Philadelphia?
I said, he's an
Philadelphia.
American.
I was
Ask
like,
him.
I
I
ain't
was
from
using him to
America.
settle a bet. When he got really offended, he said, I'm not American. I'm from Black Rock down the road.
So then I said, I'm playing a trick on her. So I got goat's cheese, and I covered it in chocolate. They were giving out truffles, right? And of course, I said to the pastry guy, "Hey, put those out." When she walks by, I say, "Yeah, oh yeah, here's some extra truffles." And when she eats it, it's gonna be goat's cheese. Blah. Anyway, the crazy American eats it and says, "Wow, goat's cheese with chocolate on it. This is awesome."
And
So
you
it kinda
knew she was
backfired
the
on
one
me.
at that point. Yeah. Wow.
And who asked who out? I mean, did you
I asked
instantly,
her out 100 times, and then finally she went out.
you said
Oh.
no a couple times?
She's always too busy.
What was your first date?
Polishing silverware or something.
What was your first date?
We went to Chicago Pizza Pie Factory in Dublin.
No. I met you down on the coast. Actually,
You sure it was him? She's going, I don't remember that. We never went to the coast.
no. We went.
What?
We went down. We went down on the coast, and there
me.
was a like
I
a
like that.
flight show. So we spent the afternoon on kind of in the. I mean, not a beach like we think of here, but it's a really rocky sort of area. And we walked up and down the pier, and we went and had lunch in a little pub, and we had tea and soup and bread and. Yeah, I
All right,
remember.
how long from then until you got married?
5
That's like that
years or so.
TV show where the guy can come. Brad Pitt
But
thing. Was
we had a few travels between then. We traveled all through Asia, and we lived in Hawaii for a while. Before we came here, we got married here. So
Now,
we had,
now what brought you
we
to
had
New
some
Orleans?
adventures.
Was it you recruited here from a restaurant or?
No, it was for a baby, actually. It was my nephew was going to be born. We were living in Hawaii, and I said, hey, let's go to New Orleans. We decided we were moving back to Ireland, and I said, hey, let's go to New Orleans. We'll stop there for a month or so to see the baby being born, and we'll just hang out for a little while. And that baby is now 6'1", and
Huey.
and I taught to Parallel Park about 6 months ago.
Wow.
So yeah.
It got in your blood here.
We got sucked in, and
Buddy said,
we
hey,
haven't
you
left.
should check out my friend Jamie Shannon. He's in the Commander's Palace. Go work there. So I ended up working there, and I thought I'd work there for like 2 weeks. And then it just got hooked in, and next minute I was 5 years down the road and had
No
a great
kidding.
time. Yeah,
Wow.
the
So
thing
that
about
was
cooking-
your first job?
Your
Yeah.
first job was at Commander's here. Your first
Yeah.
job in New Orleans was
Yeah.
at Commander's. That's
back in the
not bad.
Back in the they call it the kettle room where you make all the stocks and stuff like that.
Huh.
And stuck back there.
You were in the Jamie Shannon era. Wow, that's great. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. I want to ask y'all what a typical day looks like in your when you wake up in your home through the evening, like a work day.
I'm going to give you one word: loud. Another word: active.
Yeah, you're not sleeping past 6. 6
And-
a.m.
and-
Start getting breakfast downstairs.
Well,
and
I'll
how
tell
late
you-
do you work?
I'll tell you, we
Before
start the morning usually with someone. We wake up and say, when
your
did you
turn."
come in the middle of the night? And there's always at least 1 or 2 kids piled into bed with us that pop in sometime during the night. And then we get up and we go downstairs, and breakfast is very important and big in our house because, of course, in the business we're in, a lot of times we aren't home in the evenings for dinner. So breakfast is our very big, important family time.
right.
So we make breakfast in the morning. We always make it a big ordeal. We do really special meals with the girls. And
Even before schools and stuff, like weekday, every morning is they
Oh, yeah.
participate and
It's like
it's
a
a big
military
deal.
operation.
it really is. I mean, I've had people say, how on earth do you get 5 girls to school with braided hair? And I say, well, while they're eating, we're braiding. I mean, we multitask. We have got a system down. But, I mean, it's, you have to get your systems down. The night
you say how
before,
many
we have
boys
the
and girls you
clothes.
have?
Oh,
5
it's
girls.
5 girls. Wow,
Yeah.
I
I
just
know.
get more and more sympathy for you, Matt. Okay, so you have 6
Come
women
on,
in the
he's
house.
king of the house. He is king of the house. Listen, we have one daughter who is 6, and she was practicing writing tonight, and she handed me a piece of paper, and it said, "Dad is," what was the first sentence? Dad
Great.
is, Dad, that's the second sentence. Dad is,
Works at the pub.
oh, Dad works at the pub. Next one said, Dad is great. The last line said, Dad is a goofball.
she wrote this.
Yep. That's
Wow.
Margaret.
So you have like baby geniuses as well because 6 years old and the
I'm trying to create super children that will live forever and take over the world.
now my brother has triplets, and when they were little, they were color coded. Did you ever have a system like that? Like we painted their toenails.
Well,
and
you know what?
had
When
charts.
they first came home, charts. I'm all about the charts. When the quads came home, we had charts hanging up on the walls so we could keep track because, of course, we were bleary-eyed and exhausted. If someone said, when is the last time Margaret ate? I would say, I don't know, today, yesterday. I would have no idea. But we wrote everything down. We were meticulous. The
and
only
how
way
do you
we
know
could
who
keep
was
track.
who? I mean, I
Well,
know you know as a parent.
We
but
were a little nervous because out of the quads, 2 are identical and 2 are fraternal.
Okay.
And I thought, oh my gosh, what if I get them home and get them mixed up? So naively, I left their little hospital ankle bands on for the first 2 days thinking, I don't want to mix them up. But as a parent, you just know. I mean, I could be downstairs and say, oh, there's Molly crying. You just know. You know.
But y'all didn't have any help, like
Because my mom actually moved in with us. My mother is a saint, and she lived with us for the first 2 months. But it was, Matt affectionately calls it, what do you call it?
Baby
boot camp. Baby boot camp. And for the first 3 months, no exaggeration whatsoever, I averaged probably about 2 hours of sleep every 24 hours. That is no exaggeration. That was consistent. I was absolutely sleep deprived. Should not have been driving anywhere, I'm sure. And but when you have that many, you have shift A babies and you have shift B babies, and you wake up and you have to have 2 people at every single feeding, and then when you finish that feeding, then you have to put them down, then you have to do the next feeding. And so by the time you get everyone fed and you go back down, it's time to clean
About an hour
up.
sleep if you're
Yeah,
lucky.
it's well. I
But
didn't
that
get
doesn't
any
happen.
because, I.
So did you
I'm
lose
not
any
gonna say.
fingers or anything? Cutting stuff with the sleep depriving. I mean, this is hardcore sleep deprivation
This
you're going
is.
through. Yeah.
No, I kind of
You're okay?
Life as a cook, chef, you get used to working 16, 17, 18 hours and just sleeping on the run. It's always been like that for me. So
And we can laugh about it now because it's so far back. And
There's
I have some
definitely
people
years
say,
y'all
we-
look
but
fantastic.
don't
and
you remember
vivacious.
it fondly? Isn't it great now? Don't you forget the bad times? That both of us say, no. We remember it. We remember
I
it like
remember
it was
one
yesterday.
time I wanted to go to sleep, and she said, "Buddy, you are not going to sleep. You pick up that baby, and you help make this baby." I was like, "Okay, this is a drill sergeant."
All right. Well,
true.
the next phase of bad times is going to happen when 4 of them go off to college at the same time, and your tuition bill comes in. That's going to be the next.
I'm worried about when they hit teenage years, and I have 5 teenage daughters at one time.
Oh.
I'm not looking forward to that moment.
Time to get a gun and a shovel. And
There you go.
A shovel.
whoever the date is gonna
Wow, I know. It's usually just
end on
scary,
that.
but
I have an 11-year-old daughter. And she went to a sock hop a couple days ago, and I'm started thinking like she's going to start dating soon. That's kind of terrifying. But 5 girls dating at once would be hard. Unfortunately, Margot, we are utterly, completely, totally out of time. Overtime, actually. So we need to end abruptly, and I hate this because this was a joy. What else can we say about that? All I can say is our special guest tonight was Alicia Murphy and Alicia's husband, Chef Matt Murphy, and we're so glad to have you.
No, it's
And
great. We
do
had a
you have
great evening.
Tell us about the hours of your restaurant and also the hours of Fare Food, and give us any plugs you'd like about any of that.
Yeah, the Irish House, as you know, is an authentic Irish pub. It's down on St. Charles, 1432 St. Charles, and we are open from 11 a.m. till New Orleans till the last
drunk
guy
gets
walks out the
kicked
door.
out. Yeah.
And then we're very well known for the brunches. We do some great brunches on Saturdays and Sundays, and we've got a great event space upstairs too, which is probably one of the nicest event spaces in the uptown area. So drop in. We have music on a Monday night, Irish session, and we have people driving from all over the place to come play at it. Accordions, fiddles, and tin whistles. So
yeah, it's a lot of fun.
come in and see what it's like. And then Fare.
And Fare Food Apothecary is at 4838 Magazine Street. We are open 7 days a week from 9 to 6, and we have lots of yummy, yummy treats. Just come in and try a cookie even. They're so yummy.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Y'all are wonderful. Thank you so much. I know your time is. I normally feel that anyone in the restaurant business time is precious, but I really mean it. We really appreciate y'all taking time out with
Thanks for having us.
and
This has
joining
been
us.
fun.
Thank
On the
you.
show.
Yeah, what a blast.
Great.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Thanks a lot.
Midnight Menu Plus One is produced by Grant Morris, Margot Moss, and me, Ray Canada. Our technical producer is Chris Keogh. Our director of everything else is Mary Ross.
Thanks to our sponsors who made tonight's show possible. Petite Pet Care, for loving care when you're not there. PetitePetCare.com. Magic Box Toys. Experience the magic at Magic Box Toys on Magazine Street. Tell them you're a Midnight Menu Plus One listener, and they'll give you 10% off of your purchase.
If you'd like to be a sponsor of Midnight Menu Plus One, get in touch with us on our website, itsneworleans.com, or just email sales@itsneworleans.com.
If you'd like to be a guest or suggest a guest for Midnight Menu Plus One, you can do that on our website too. You can find photos from tonight's show, check out our blog, and all sorts of other great stuff on itsneworleans.com, including our other shows Out to Lunch, Happy Hour, Vietnola, True to the Game, and Mindset.
You can hook up with me and Margot anytime by following Midnight Menu Plus One on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
The awesome audio quality of this show is brought to us by Chris Kehoe's Magic and PreSonus Audio. More information about all the wonderful sound recording equipment PreSonus makes is at presonus.com. PRESONUS.com.
Midnight Menu Plus One is a production of INO Broadcasting for itsneworleans.com. For all of us here at Midnight Menu Plus One, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you back here next week around New Orleans Podcast Dining Table. Till then, I'm Ray Canada.
And I'm Margot Moss. Goodbye.
You know Labor Day signals the unofficial end of summer, but not the end of your outdoor projects. Lowe's helps you do it right and helps you save with Labor Day deals throughout the store. Shop now and get 2 bags of Stay Green potty mix for $12. And keep your lawn looking neat and trim with a Craftsman 2-cycle 17-inch gas string trimmer, now $20 off at just $119. Whatever's still on your to-do list this Labor Day, do it right for less. Start with Lowe's. Offers valid through 8/28. Soil offer excludes Alaska and Hawaii. U.S. only.